soaring. Take a look at how the markets are doing right here, right now. Off the highs of the session, with the Dow still managing to eke out a 217-point gain. But again, the head of the ECB delivering. The central bank will step in and buy bonds galore, an unlimited supply for those nations that are debt-ridden, need to keep their interest rates relatively low. Better service sector gaining steam, you name it. Well, we got a market rally.
That's a pretty good rally ahead of President Obama's speech tonight. Now, last night was Bill Clinton speaking at the Democratic National Convention, but his wife, the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, watching halfway around the world. She's overseas, meeting with the Chinese president, Hu Jintao, and others. And our next guest was also just in China and says a slowdown there could be a big problem here. Yu-Dee Chang is the chief trader at Ace Investment Strategists. He's back in D.C. right now. What did China look like? Pretty bad?
You know what? I think it's basically is from a different point of view. I think the government thinks, Chinese government itself thinks it's pretty bad. I think one thing I heard over there is that the central government with the Communist Party is actually requiring the cities to provide stimulus at the city levels. It must be pretty bad. You know, from the people that I've been talking to, Connell, I think there are twofolds, right? If you look, if I talk to the business owners, they're worried. They're looking at their orders, drilling down. They're looking at their inventory being sitting there and not being able to be moved. So they're worried about the growth of the world economy and China. If you talk to the workers, if you talk to the general public, they're a little bit concerned. Not as much it was a slowdown, but they're concerned with the housing prices being a bubble over there, and they're concerned with inflation. So they're worried about different things, nevertheless, all tied to a slowdown.
Because if you look at it three ways, you start at the United States, you look at Europe, and you look at Asia, especially China. I'm sure the president will try to argue tonight that our economy is at least getting better slowly. Europe, the big story today, this bond buying program, then the market's up for whatever it's worth, over 200 points here on the Dow. But will China slow down significantly? How worried should we be here?
Well, if you think about this, you know, China is the world's second largest economy, right? So its GDP is about 7.45 trillion, about half the size of the United States. So if China really slows down substantially, of course, it's going to have a major effect on the world, especially like you were saying, the timing part of it. Europe is on the brink of collapsing. U.S. is barely hanging on. So if you get a real slowdown of China, in China that is, it's going to majorly affect our market. You know, the funny thing is, Connell, I think before my trip, you know, I know China is slowing down from all the numbers, from what people are analyzing. But when I'm actually there, you know, I'm starting to think, well, the possibility of a hard landing, you know, before my trip, I totally ruled it out. Now I'm thinking, I still don't think it's going to be a hard landing, but I think there's actually a possibility of it. If that does happen, it's not going to be good for the world economy.
That is, no, it's not. And that is something, hey, one of those things, hey, don't forget about China. You're talking about Europe, talking about the U.S. and everything else. Yu-Dee Chang, thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
After hearing from former President Bill Clinton last night,